Welcome to another episode of 7 Minutes. My name is Chris Wright. I'm your host with my co-host Beverly Swim.
Hi, everybody.
All right, and today we get the honor to interview Miss Julie Chapman. And and Julie, as you know, she's a local celebrity, but she's also done some pretty national accomplishments, which is awesome. 2-time Emmy Award winner for journalism. You're an accomplished author.
Yes.
Won some awards there. And you've been a journalist for how long?
Oh, 30 years.
And look, she doesn't look a day over 30.
Oh, you're kind.
But I know you have older kids.
I do. I have 2 college kids.
2 college kids. I saw you at the Capital Region Home Show. How was that?
Oh, that was fun. It was nice to see the world opening back up from COVID, you know, so it was a little smaller, but I go to the home show every year because, I love to just, try to do home improvements and things around the house. I'm not very good at it, but I like to try.
Good. So listen, so in 2017, you did 27, it was 20 things with Christy
Barletti.
Yep, and you had said, right, from the Times Union. And at that time, you said that Halloween was your favorite holiday. And you said, and I might write a book. And how did that come into fruition?
Oh, yeah. Well, you know what? I always, my whole life loved like writing poetic stories. They're just little quips and rhyme. And so over the years, with my kids, I would always write them and read them about Halloween, and they would always have little twists or inspiration. And so over time, I had collected, well over 50 of them. So, when COVID hit and my kids went off to school, I always thought that, I was a real active, like soccer mom and real involved with my kids. And I didn't want to have that empty nest depression that they say, you can get. So I was like, I'm going to throw myself into a project. So I'm going to send my poetic stories about Halloween out to a publisher. And I wanted to put together a children's book. And I got a call from Vicki Adesso-Dodd, the owner of Saratoga Springs Publishing, because I wanted to use a local publisher, because I'm not somebody that did, like I was telling you, through COVID, I anchored out of the house and I did all the technical stuff out of the house. And I did a lot of collaborating over WebEx and Zoom. And I just didn't like that. Like, I'm a connection person.
Right.
Speak with people. So I wanted to use a local publisher because I wanted to collaborate with somebody. So she called me up. She said she loved the idea and she wanted to help me publish. And I have it here because I was hoping you would talk about it.
Yes, of course. There you go.
It's a collection of fun poetic stories about the Halloween season and the adventures that await. And there's 17 in here. And I talk about why I've always loved Halloween and why I would like to embrace the magical moments around the season through poetic rhyme. And it's done really well.
Is that you on the cover?
What's funny is when I met with my illustrator from Glens Falls, Anthony Rakicki. He's a wonderful artist, because again, I wanted to use all local people. I told him I want the cover. I want an ugly green witch over a cauldron, and I want her, pulling up out of the cauldron, like the different poetic stories in like a mist. And he came back and he did what I said. He goes, here's a copy. And it was the old ugly witch. And then he goes, but here's what I think would be better. And he made it me.
Yeah. That is so awesome.
And he said, well, he had my face come up instead of down. And he had the stories coming out of my hands. And my publisher loved it. And she's like, I think it'd be better, especially when it comes to selling the book and getting it out there. She said, if it was you. So that's how it came to be.
So did you expect accolades like Book of the Year?
No, I was really surprised. My publisher is trying to teach me about this book world, because what I do is I go to the schools and I talk to the students for free about self-expression, imagination. And I do it for free because, I love talking to the kids. And then I'll do a pre-sale, and that's how I get my books out there. I drastically discount them. And, I really just want the kids to love the book, So my publisher says the way to get on book lists for schools, especially outside of the Capital Region, where I'm not really known as much. I mean, I'm known throughout upstate, because a lot of people don't know that Spectrum News broadcasts to all of upstate. Right now I do the Capital Region, but for years I was all of upstate. So I knew I could reach all of upstate, but how do you get it beyond upstate? You enter these literary competitions. So my publisher told me about 3 that I should enter. So I entered the National Moonbeam Awards, and I entered the Outstanding Creator Awards,
Mhm.
and I was shocked. It won National Moonbeam Awards. Now it comes with this sticker
Yeah.
for Best in Poetic Stories out of 1,500 entries in that category in poetry from across the country.
You must have been shocked. You must have thought you
I
were
was
being like,
shocked,
you thought you were being
shocked.
punked.
Well, it's a total passion project. And then
Yeah.
we entered the Outstanding Creator Awards, and it won first place for writing, poetry, third for illustrations, and then it won Best Book of the Fall, and then it won first place for Best Children's Book of the Year for 2022. And
That's
again, I was
incredible.
shocked. I couldn't believe it, but I'm so glad that people are embracing it.
What do you do for Halloween? What do you do? Like, I know you like that's your favorite holiday. What are you
I
doing?
love it. Well, I always dress as a witch,
Uh-huh.
always. And I do a number of school visits that week, or I have for the last 2 years leading up to Halloween, because I try to get the kids all excited. But I don't live in a neighborhood, but my mother-in-law does. So we always go to her house and we have like a big pizza party, and I always hand out candy to the kids. And I talk to kids about, Halloween and their costumes and just the fun of the holiday.
So let's talk about journalism.
Okay.
There's so many young people in journalism in school today, Syracuse, Northwestern,
Yeah.
even the local community colleges, and they want to be like you. What do you tell them? Like, what advice can you give them?
Well, journalism has changed so much since I first got in it. I'm from the old school where you went to a small market, did your time, you worked your way up. The more you learned about every aspect of the job, the stronger you were as a journalist. But in this changing world, especially with the internet and social media, it's just crazy how all of those mediums have influenced what we do as professionals. So I try to I try to mentor a lot of our younger reporters, and I try to tell them the most important thing we need to do is respect the 4 core principles of journalism. And that's, minimize harm, be fair and balanced, do your own work, report the facts. At this age of social media where we have all these citizen journalists, people are getting confused based on what's verified information and what isn't. So I always talk to a lot of colleges when I do visits, and I mentor these younger reporters to say, we'll protect our profession and really give it that credibility that it's always had over the years, is that we need to respect those principles, and we need to do good work. We need to tell engaging stories, and we need to connect with our community in a way that's interesting and somewhat entertaining as far as holding interest. Because as we've seen from these phones, I mean, if you don't catch somebody's interest in 10, 15 seconds, they turn the channel or they scroll. So I just really want to make sure that this next crop of journalists coming behind us really understand that, it's about the facts. It's about being fair and balanced. It's about sharing all sides, because the only way we're going to come together as a community and move forward in the right way for everybody is we have to understand everyone's point of view. We have to bring them to the sphere, and we have to get everybody talking. And then we have to start making decisions based on the greater good of all of us, not just one group or another group or this group. It's got to be everybody.
Right.
And then I think we'll improve our society and just make our world better.
Well, journalism. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I really applaud that, because it seems to me, whether you're on the right or left or somewhere in the middle, it seems everything you get is either one side or the other. And most people aren't there. I would love to be able to have a news source where you're getting just the facts, and it's more about bringing people together as opposed to trying to, make your side better or worse.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But I have to mention that engaging part. We have to make sure that the stories we're telling are engaging enough to make people feel something, because if people don't feel something about your story in the first 10 or 15 seconds, they won't connect to it and they won't stay long enough to get the information. So our journalists not only have to be excellent at gathering the facts and having a balanced report, they have to do it in a way that will resonate with viewers. because that's the whole point, is we have to make people feel something about the issue in order to bring them to the table to push for the change that we want to see. And of course, that's what we want. We want peace and love and happiness for everybody. We don't want the strife anymore. We just all want to have a better world for our children and our grandchildren than those we leave behind.
So do you hunt down stories, or how's that work?
Yeah, well, of course, I'm constantly enterprising. And what's nice is that is one thing, is I know I get tough on the social media, but it's a great way to gather news and information, isn't it? You can
Yeah.
kind of find out what's going on in communities. And yeah, that's what I typically do, is I typically scroll a lot of social media. I read a lot of newspapers. And then when I'm out and about in the community, I listen to what people say. And when they talk to me about an issue in their community that's troublesome for them, or something that they're proud of, and I bring it back to the newsroom, we open it up for discussion, and we try to find a broader angle to it, and try to enlighten people about maybe things you don't see in the mainstream media.
Yeah. So you worked in Baltimore.
I did. Yeah.
Oof. Now tell me about that, because I grew up in Philadelphia.
Oh, yeah.
And I know that news in Philadelphia, our main channel was called Action News, Channel 6.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So that working in a city compared to like the capital region is a whole different dynamic.
Oh,
What are
yeah.
the differences in working like in a city like Baltimore?
Well, you got to remember, out of college, I grew up in Binghamton.
Yeah.
So out of college, I worked in Elmira, and then I went to Binghamton, and then from Binghamton, I went to Baltimore. And that was really eye-opening, because at the time it was a 22 news market, but it was competitive.
Yeah.
And, when I got there, I looked around the newsroom, and I'm like, I got to run with these are the big dogs. I got to run with these reporters, because they were so good. And Baltimore was a feeder market for Washington, Philadelphia,
Mhm.
and New York.
Yeah.
So I worked there for 4 years, and I anchored on the weekends and reported general assignment during the week. And I worked for Johns Hopkins Hospital. I did health reports for NBC News Channel, and it was just eye-opening. At the time, it had the highest murder rate per capita in the country, a
Right.
very big, strong drug issue.
Mhm.
It was tough. But you know what I loved about Baltimore? It's Charm City, but the people who live in that area of our country, I mean, such genuine, loving people who truly love where they are and the history of their state. And I just found it so warm and welcoming. I always they call it Charm City, and it certainly is charming, and the people are just lovely.
Now, were you
Yeah.
there during the time the HBO series The Wire was out?
No, I was there during Homicide: Life on the Street with Richard Belzer.
Oh, that was phenomenal.
He just died, sadly. And I don't
Yeah,
think he was
just
that old.
recently.
Yeah.
Were you there when Heyman Lee was died?
No, but I was there when Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith got married.
Okay.
So I was there at the end of the 90s into 2000. And then I married a man from Albany. And that's how I ended up here, as we moved here because we have family here.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, but it was hard leaving Baltimore. I would say that I am still have a lot of friends there, but I loved that job. I worked for the NBC station, which was live, local, late breaking, like you said, Action News.
Action
And I
News.
learned so much, and the people were great, and I still keep in touch with them. And it was really a gift to be able to work in that market for 4 years.
So you got your master's degree from St. Rose?
I did. Yeah.
So how was that? Because you did that as an adult, right? You were working and going to school, right?
Yeah, I didn't do it online. I went to class because, again, as I mentioned earlier, I'm not about this so much.
Yeah.
I would be in a room with you too.
Yeah, absolutely. Let's do it.
And I'm sorry that I talk a lot.
No, congratulations on getting that. And what's your master's degree in?
It's in journalism, media arts, from the College of St. Rose. I don't even know if they still have that program anymore, but I started it back in 2012 because our company really pushed tuition assistance and how they were going to, give you so much if you would advance your education. And I thought, why not? I think I would love to do that. So I went to class. And it took me like 5 years because I went spring, summer, fall, because I had the kids and I was trying to work in the middle of the night. And I did the classes and I made a ton of friends, but I learned so much. So I really advise anybody who is thinking about, even if I went back and I was, I was one of the older people in the class, but you learn so much and the engagement is great. The networking was great. And yeah, I was glad that I did it.
Um, and, Dan Bazil, I love him.
Oh my God. He's
And
my best buddy.
And it's great that you get to work with him every day. We had lunch together, right? Like before the pandemic. And I keep telling him, let's get together again, but he's a good guy. So good for you.
He's such a great guy. When they told us, we used to be a recorded format. When they told me, they're like, Julie, we're going to do a live show and we want you to anchor this show and we're going to bring Dan Bazil over from 13 to be with you. I was like in heaven because I knew him like you knew him. What a wonderful person.
Right.
And he's smart and he and I have instant chemistry. And I'm just really blessed to be able to anchor with him every day. He's become like one of my best friends.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
we talk about Under the Tuscan Sun.
Oh my gosh. Love Under the Tuscan Sun.
You do.
I went to Italy for 2 weeks for the first time last year in the spring. And I made sure that Tuscany was the place I stayed because as soon as for several days, because as soon as I saw that movie, that made me fall in love with Italy. Have you ever seen it?
Yeah, a million times. I have the Blu-ray just like you.
How did you know that, Chris? How did you know to ask?
I did my research. That's great, though. But it is a good movie, Beverly. Highly recommend it. It's you know what it is about it? This is for me. You may have a different feeling. It's not just the story, but it's the scenery, the cinematography, and it's beautiful. And you want to watch it on a really big screen. So the largest screen in your house, you watch it. The first time I saw it was on a small screen, and when I watched it on a larger screen, it was just such a beautiful movie. Yeah. And I've been saying since then, I want to go to Tuscany.
Yeah. And you know what you get out of it where I resonated a lot with the story is it's about this woman who just at this point in her life where she suffered this really tough divorce and she just said, you know what, I'm going to make a drastic change and I'm going to start over. And as she was rebuilding this house, she started rebuilding her life and everything that she was trying to attract in her life didn't really come the way she expected it. It was almost like the universe always has your back, but maybe not in the way you expect. But it's about the law of attraction that what you think about and what you believe you will get eventually will show up for you. You just have to believe and know and let it go. And in the end, she did, and her life was flowing again with the water at the end. And it was just such a great message. And it was beautifully acted. It was wonderful scenery, but I always feel so good after watching it because, it's all about just believing that even when you feel you've hit rock bottom, you could always just pick yourself up, keep on swimming, and eventually the life you want will show up for you if you just believe. I love it.
Diane Lane, right?
Yes. Oh, she's so good.
One of my favorite actresses. So definitely, Beverly, watch that. So, so that movie seemed to have inspired you a little bit personally, right? Tell us a little bit about that. Your philosophy on life based on those things in that movie.
Yeah. Well, I have this little saying, and I'm like, I just believe the meaning of life is learning, the lesson is love, and we're here to help each other. So whenever I get stuck on anything in my life, I always think that, okay, why is this happening, good or bad? Because we've all had good and bad things happen in our lives, and we're like, how do you make sense of this? So I always say the meaning of life is learning. We're meant to learn. The lesson is always love. No matter what we're supposed to do to handle a situation, we have to go back to coming from a place of love, and we are here to help each other. So if you just remind yourself of those things, you can really move through any challenge, I think, beautifully and come out to where you want to be. And so when I see movies or poetry or books that kind of resonate that philosophy, I kind of really embrace them. And so I actually am coming out with another book. It's the sister book to this, and it comes out this summer. It's called, you're the first to learn about it. I mean,
there we go. Yay!
Exclusive. It's called Santa, Elves, and Magical Bells, Enchanting Rhymes for Holiday Time. Wow. And a lot of my life philosophy is in that book. It just actually went to print, and I should have it by June, and I'm going to use it for my festivals this year. And a lot of it has that life philosophy in it, because when you write poetic stories about the holiday season, there is a lot of spirituality in it. I mean, that's what the holiday season is.
Yeah.
All the holidays it's got a lot of God in it.
Oh, okay, good.
I just feel like that. I just feel like, whenever I see anything that kind of resonates with my life philosophy, I kind of feel like it's reassuring to me that I'm kind of going about things the right way, instead of getting all bogged down in the bad things that happen.
I got a quick question. When you were a kid, you did some stock car racing.
Oh
Right?
yeah, I was a race car driver.
Do you still drive fast?
I do. I hope I'm not talking too much. Am I talking too much?
No, I just thought that was funny. I said, if you did stock car racing when you were little, like, you gotta love to drive fast now. Because
Oh, yeah.
I'm the right lane guy. I'm the guy you're swerving around.
Oh no,
Yeah, I am not a left lane guy. Always in the
whenever I'm
right.
in the car with Dan, you should ask Dan about that. Dan is like, he hangs on to that thing, and then he hangs on to the thing. And
me
I was
too.
like, hold on, Dan. I go, I don't like to use my brakes. Just move. He's funny. If you ever talk to Dan, you should ask him about
I
that.
will. So Beverly, she like to end this show for us.
You have accomplished so much.
Oh,
So, and this new book, that answers part of the question, but what are your aspirations? What are you looking to do next?
Yeah, you know what? Part of the reason, and I'll tell you guys, I just am kind of honest about everything, is I've been in the news business 30 years. I've been at Spectrum News 21 years. And I do this morning show, which I'm not ready to quite go yet. I'm going to hang on for a little bit longer, but I always wanted to teach. So part of the reason I got my master's degree is I think I would eventually see myself going into some sort of teaching position where I can kind of groom the next crop of journalists and public speakers, because I do find a lot of joy in seeing people progress and achieving their dreams, and knowing that I kind of had a hand on kind of lifting them up in the right way. Because when I was starting out, a lot of times you didn't have the help that you really needed. And I feel like I just want to treat these young reporters like I would have loved to have been treated. So I do want to continue writing my books, my children's books on inspiration and poetic stories. I do want to do that, but I do down the road see myself teaching and doing a lot more traveling. But I can't believe that I've been in broadcast journalism for 30 years. It's shocking to me that, because why went by like that.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming on. We really appreciate it. We're gonna love getting to know more.
We talk so much.
Oh, I know. And like you said, we need to do this over wine. We just interviewed Patty Novo from Taverna Nova, the restaurant in Saratoga. So we should all go there.
Yeah.
That would be great. All right. Well, Julie, thanks so much again for coming on, and we will definitely catch up again later. Okay.
I would love that. Thank you,
Thanks
guys.
so much, Julie.
Take care. Bye-bye.
All right, have a great night.